Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Chrissy Hodges, advocate for OCD, in particular pure OCD, which is the community name for individuals who live with intrusive thoughts, images, feelings, and mental rituals. And that is the topic of today's video. And it's interesting because as I was just saying, I was like, you're so guilty about what you're about to talk about. Anyway, I'm also the author of Pure OCD. And I am a peer support specialist providing peer support to individuals worldwide who are working towards recovery for OCD or just live with OCD in general. I also run groups. I have 8-week closed groups. Check in with me about when registration is open. They're open several times per year. And then I also have an online community. In that community, there's all kinds of things that you can do to connect to others. I just opened up a couple really cool spaces, and so I would love for you to join. And if you're not wanting to join right now, whenever you need us, we are there for you for the support that you need. So today, I'm really excited to talk about this topic. I did a big presentation this week at a hospital, a mental health hospital here in Colorado, and in preparing for the presentation, I just a lot of things were emphasized to me that I really just think to myself, oh, I need to bring this to the community. I need to bring this to you as reminders about how OCD manifests. First, an OCD. An OCD is an app. Inside the app, you can meet other people, chat on the forums, and they also do telehealth therapy doing ERP. So check them out at treatmyocd.com or nocd.com to get an assessment. If you are ready for therapy, they do this therapy in many, many places all over the world. Okay, so I want to talk today about how all the time you hear that OCD is intrusive thoughts. And I just said that, and I say it on all my videos. I'm guilty. Don't worry, moving forward, I'm going to correct it. When I was doing preparation for this talk, it was on OCD, diagnostic criteria and risk assessment. And I was doing a lot of research on and consultation with therapists to make sure that I had correct information. I started to see that OCD is no longer considered an anxiety disorder. And I was curious about that. And to see in the DSM, OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder and OC disorders. So basically, we would be talking about other things that fall under the category of OCD. Um, I was curious about why it wasn't an anxiety disorder, and then I was curious about it from a lived experience perspective. And then I just thinking about all the things that are communicated during groups and when I'm meeting with people, a lot of, and I've had people come into my community like Dr. Stephen Phillips, and he talks about this a lot, is that okay, so there's 2 points I want to make here. First of all, it's not always thoughts. It's not always intrusive thoughts. But when we hear about OCD, and especially like the pure OCD, the community name, you're always hearing intrusive thoughts. And because most of us have meta OCD, which is I'm scared this isn't OCD, it feels too real, things like that. When we read information that's not aligning with what we experience, then we're easily going to fall into the meta OCD. This isn't really OCD. I'm the one that doesn't have it. And I talk about this a lot on my videos, right? So if you're not having intrusive thoughts and that is what you're hearing all the time, then you're going to think that you don't have OCD. So what else can you have? Intrusive images. This is not talked about enough. Um, so you're living with POCD and you're getting these images in your head all the time. They're not thoughts, they're images, and that's terrifying to you, right? And so you're thinking to yourself, you're already having like meta OCD, this is an OCD. And then you're thinking, but I'm not having any thoughts, this is images, so it must be real. What kind of person has images? Lots of people with OCD, for sure. You can have intrusive feelings. So intrusive feelings can be intrusive shame, intrusive guilt, intrusive anger, intrusive sadness, all kinds of things. And sometimes these are the feelings that really pull you into the cycle. I've probably told you this before, but when I was dealing with OCD for physical pain, it was like a 3-year ordeal. My insight was so low. I didn't know. I mean, I could see the compulsions, but I just could not believe it was OCD because the pain felt so real. I mean, the pain was real. So to me, it was like, well, I can't resolve this as OCD because the pain will still be there. So it's not OCD that's keeping me stuck and miserable. It was the intrusive feeling of sadness that kept me stuck in the cycle. And until I realized that, there was no way I could identify this as OCD. It was like, this isn't intrusive thoughts. It's not intrusive images. The pain's real. And it was this intrusive sadness that kept me stuck. Intrusive sensations. So, like the pain was a sensation that was intrusive because I was thinking about it all the time. I was hyper focused on it all the time. Other sensations, the groinal, any sort of feeling in an erogenous zone, like for men, like they may have their mouth water when they look at that banana. Sorry, it's not funny, but kind of is. Um, Intrusive sensations like urges, sensations like feelings in your body, butterflies, things like that. So these are just a couple of examples. It's things that are intrusive to us that are providing distress. It doesn't just have to be thoughts. I wanted to make sure that you know that. Because if you're thinking that you're the exception because it's not thoughts, then you're going to sit there and go, this cannot be OCD, and that's going to be a barrier to you reaching out for support or help. Some people don't get intrusive thoughts, they get intrusive other things, like I just described, and more. Oh, another one is intrusive voices, intrusive sounds. So this can be very, very prevalent if you are having intrusive thoughts about psychosis, um, or fears about that. It's very much like health anxiety, which of course also has intrusive sensations. Now you're manifesting everything that you're reading about the specific health issue. Now you can manifest specific symptoms about mental health diagnoses. So you might feel like you're hearing intrusive voices. You're seeing intrusive images, right? And so this may make you believe that I'm actually experiencing this, and this is not OCD. Now, moving on to the other part of this, which is, one of the things I was looking at when I saw that this isn't just an anxiety disorder. Um, a lot of that is because you also read, you're going to read, you get intrusive thoughts and you have anxiety. So if you don't have intrusive thoughts, you're already going to believe that you don't have OCD. And now if you don't get anxiety, you're going to believe that you don't have OCD. What do I mean when I say this? It doesn't just have to be anxiety that you experience with OCD. Kind of like earlier when I was talking about the intrusive feelings and emotions, you can have other responses to your OCD thoughts, images, sensations, feelings. You can have other emotions that drive the cycle. So I went to an OCD and was looking for some stuff for the presentation, and it showed the OC cycle, right? So there's the intrusive, whatever, the intrusion, okay? And there's an arrow, and it said distress, arrow, compulsion, arrow, temporary relief, which by the way, well, I'll get to that in a minute. In the distress piece, I really appreciated that they said this because you're not always going to get anxiety. You can get sadness, anger, shame, frustration, guilt, doom, disgust. You can have that response as a distressing response to the intrusion. And that is what can lower your insight. Because if it's not anxiety, your brain might say this is not OCD. Or if you have experienced anxiety or any of these distress responses for a really long time, I'm not sure if this is the right word to use, but I'm going to use it because I think you'll understand it better saying this. If you have done that over and over and checking and testing and checking and testing and needing, sometimes you need that distress response to feel like this is what's going to keep people safe from my harm intrusive thoughts or POCD or things like that. And you want that because it proves to you that you really don't want the intrusive thoughts. Sometimes that feeling can lessen or go away completely. So you're going to then think, oh my gosh, this is not OCD. Or sometimes you don't want those. And doing the compulsion gets rid of the distress. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. And that is proof to you, right? But again, with enough time, I keep doing this because I'm thinking about the cycle. So now we're over here to temporary relief. If you do something enough, again, testing, checking for as long as you can, you're almost habituating to it, then you're not going to get temporary relief. And after a while, it feels like none of your compulsions are working anymore, whether you want them to as proof or not want them to alleviate the distress, they'll stop working eventually. And this is when real doom and real distress can happen. Now we're in danger of, depression, suicidal ideation, things because you just become exhausted and scared. And it just when these things stop working, you feel like you've habituated to these things, even for whatever different reasons, you really may think to yourself, this is not OCD anymore. Um, this is when you really need to reach out for support. Even though your insight might be so low that you think that it's not, reach out anyway. You need to talk to other people that live with OCD, and you need to reach out for a therapist. This is when you really need the help. So, I just wanted to share this with you because as I was doing this presentation, I thought, oh my God, people just don't know this. So let's just recap. Um, it's not just intrusive thoughts, intrusive images, sensations, feelings, intrusive sounds, intrusive things that you see, anything, anything can be an intrusion. It doesn't just have to be a thought. If you don't have intrusive thoughts, that doesn't mean that you don't have OCD. It just might be an intrusion in a different form. And then also, you may not have anxiety. OCD, the cycle isn't always driven by anxiety. Some people don't have it at all. They might have disgust. They might have shame. They may have guilt, anger, sadness, doom, despair. This may be the distress on the cycle. I have the intrusion. Here's the distress. And that pulls me into the cycle to want to do a compulsion. So you're not the exception. You hear me saying that all the time, right? You're not the exception. And here are some of the reasons why that you may have been feeling like, but I'm the exception because these things don't happen. I hope this is helpful. It was really helpful to me to have a reminder and also to be able to communicate that to clinicians for them to be able to recognize if the anxiety isn't there, that doesn't mean it's still not OCD. And that absolutely applies to you too. So, um, join my community. It's $35 a month. We have weekly support groups. We have events every month of all this cool stuff I've added. We have a book club now. It's so cool. Come and meet other people that live with that you live with. Um, if you're not ready right now, we will be there for you when you are. Can't wait to see you in there. And I'll see you next time.